Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. And the blessing for our learning. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. The month of Elul is upon us, and the shofar is being blown every morning. And we're familiar probably with the idea that the shofar is a wake-up call. But then the question is, wake up and do what? So if you know you have an alarm clock and it's set and it goes off and you wake up, but then you're still lying in bed because you don't really know what you were supposed to be doing other than hearing your alarm clock, then we're probably missing the main idea. So this was from a beautiful idea from Rabbi Gladstein. I'll be sharing information from him, Rabbi Aryeh Niven, and Sivan Rachav Meir. So Rabbi Gladstein was talking about that the call of what we are supposed to be doing during the month of Elul while we are hearing the shofar blowing, that this comes from Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, who was the founder basically of the Musar movement, that this call is a call to improve ourselves, and that yes, all the mitzvot are important and we're supposed to learn Torah and we're supposed to do all of these things, but before we get focused on all of that, kind of like the enzyme, the spiritual enzyme that makes everything else we do effective, impactful, and possible to be able to have a reality in our world, is for us to work on improving ourselves. And I just want to say beforehand, is Dorothy, I said hello to you before, but your audio was trying to get connected. So I just want you to know that I saw you connecting. So hello, and hello Cheryl and Marcia. And 303-829-2660.
Hi, Gabi. Hi.
Gabi, okay. So what is it that we're trying to do? All right, announcing the time out loud. So we want to have an alarm clock. We want to be awakened. But the question is, again, according to Rabbi Salanter, what is it that we are supposed to do when we wake up? It's like, wake up, they say, wake up and smell the coffee, wake up and get going, wake up and prepare for the month of Elul, get ready for, it's like, but can you tell me what I'm supposed to be doing? So Rabbi Salanter says that what we are supposed to be focusing on during Elul is on our midos, on our character improvement. And that this comes directly from the word shofar, that the root of the word shofar, that the three-letter root is shin, pei, resh. And it's connected to the Hebrew word lishaper. Lishaper means to improve or to beautify. It's the root of the name Shifra, where the pei turns to a fei. Like our granddaughter's name is Shifra. Shifra from the Torah of Yocheved, that her name being Shifra and Miriam's being Pua. It means because she used to beautify the babies after they were born. So that's the name of Shifra, Lishaper, means to improve. Even more so is the word that's reflexive, which is lehishtaper. Lehishtaper, which means to improve oneself. Many of our efforts are often focused on how we can improve other people. Like my life would be better if I could mishaperet, if I could improve them, then my life would be better and I would really have a much better year. But that's not the call. The call of the shofar is lehishtaper, to improve oneself and to focus on midos. Now, before we think that this is a very large, huge undertaking, we're going to talk about really the small, tiny step that is encouraged during the month of Elul rather than a complete overhaul. However, what is recommended is that people read either a book or something online from one of the sefers, one of the books that are focused on Musar. So whether that is the book, and of course I don't have it right here, the one of holiness, we did it as one of our classes. Carol remembers, and Patricia, that we did the class about everyday holiness. That's a good book. Anything that focuses on like Mesilat Yesharim, the path of the just, things with Lashon Hara, as far as how we speak about people, how we interact with others, all of those things, anything, or just even a little daily read that you find online through Chabad, or you can just even Google Musar insights, daily musar, something, so that we should have something that's intellectually coming into our minds as we're working on some aspect of ourselves. And it can be really small, and we're going to talk about how small that it can be and actually should be. Maybe familiar with the saying that Hashem says to us, open for me an opening the size of the eye of a needle, and I will open it as wide as the banquet hall so that like the horses and chariots can go through, which means the amount of effort that we need to do is just to create a small opening to show that that's what we want. And that when we express how we want something by taking some sort of small concrete action, that then Hashem joins us and helps us. I think one of the things that we often misperceive is that we're supposed to be doing the work and Hashem's like sitting in his throne of judgment, like passing judgment on us of like how well we're doing.
You're frozen for me.
Something happened.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
There.
Okay.
Okay.
We're going to take a look and see from this week's parsha of Shoftim how we know that it is something small. At the very end of parsha Shoftim, and I'll give you the page in just a moment, we see an unusual situation that is on page 1043. It's chapter 21, and we're not going to read the whole section here. It's talking about if a corpse is found in the land of Israel and nobody knows, and nobody knows who killed the person. It says that the elders and judges from the closest town are supposed to come. They take a heifer, they kill it, etc. They're going to wash their hands over the heifer, and basically they're going to make a declaration. So if you look down at verse 6, it says, all the elders of that city who are closest to the corpse shall wash their hands over the heifer that was axed in the valley. They shall speak up and say, our hands have not spilled this blood, and our eyes did not see. Atone for your people Israel that you have redeemed, O Hashem. Do not place innocent blood in the midst of your people Israel. Then the blood shall be atoned for them. So the question is, why are the elders saying that they did not see, that their hands did not spill the blood? Nobody thought at all. Excuse me, hold on one second. Be right back. That no one thought for 1 second that the elders were responsible for murdering this person. That what they are saying is that they didn't know that the person had left their town and that they had not provided that person with food or with an escort. Now, I used to think that the escort meant that they didn't provide him somebody to go with him on his journey home. But that's not actually what the halacha is. The term of escort is to escort somebody what is called 4 amos, which is basically an amma is on a man the length from the finger to the elbow. That if somebody you escort somebody for almost. So let's say like 4.5 feet, 5 feet from the door, that's called an escort. Had somebody provided food and had somebody provided an escort, this would have protected the person and they wouldn't have been killed on the way. So now we might think like, seriously, like why would that help them? You walk somebody like 4 steps from your house and then they continue on for another half hour and they're possibly in an area that's kind of dangerous. How did that help them that you escorted them in that way, in such a small way? So we have to think about and understand that when I escort somebody and I take an action, I'm just making those 4 steps. What I'm doing is I am declaring in a concrete way that my desire is that they should be protected and should be helped along their way home. Even though I can't walk them all the way home, by walking those 4 steps, I'm saying that's what I want to happen. So in Hebrew it's called, that's my ratzon. That's my will. My desire is that that person should be protected. What happens with that says that when we express our desire for how we want something to be and what we want, that Hashem helps us make it happen. Now, the ratzon cannot stay in our heads. I can't just be thinking about it. I have to say something. I have to do something. I have to do something, but I don't have to do a lot. So there is a verse in Ashrei, Psalm 145. It's the verse for the letter Resh, Ritzon Yireav Ya'aseh, that God will do the will of those who have fear of him, who are in awe of him. We're going to translate it as awe. That God does the will of those who are God-fearing. And that when we express our ratzon, and the word ratzon has the word ratz in it, which means like to run, like I'm setting myself in a certain direction, that is enough to trigger a spiritual response and create a physical reality that would have provided protection. Now, so this means this is a real halacha that you're supposed to escort somebody when they leave your house. You're supposed to escort them for amos as they leave. And that, aside from being polite, is considered that creates a reality for them. But there are other examples as well. So there was a rabbi, and I don't know who it was. I mean, I didn't write down who it was, who he was out walking with one of his students, and he saw kind of in the distance another Jewish person walking. It was in the morning. And so the rabbi said, Boker Tov, which means good morning. Now the man was like 200 feet away. He didn't hear the good morning. So the rabbi student said to him, like, why did you say Boker Tov to him? He can't hear you. So he said, well, there's several reasons why I should say Boker Tov. Number one, I should work on my midah, my quality of Yahavta l'reacha kamocha, of loving someone as myself and wishing someone a good morning. It doesn't even matter if they hear it or not. I should be a person who sees another person and greets them and wishes them well. Second of all, that the Torah tells us that a person that God blesses those who bless the Jewish people. Now, we tend to think of it in terms of our enemies, like, well, those who bless the Jewish people will be blessed, but guess who else it includes? Includes us. So when we ourselves bless Jewish people, we will also be blessed. So that there is also the idea that we then become worthy of a blessing because we have blessed another person. But the third, I think, is the most interesting of all, which is that when I say Boker Tov to somebody, and my intention is that they indeed should have a good morning and a good day, because I expressed my ratzon, my intent, that will actually impact their day, whether they heard me or not. All 3 of those reasons are operating at the same time. So when we say the month of Elul is a time for small things having a big impact, we just had one Boker Tov turn into my personal midos Aviahavta l'reacha kamocha, loving somebody as myself. I'm the Jewish people are, I'm blessing Jewish people. And so therefore I will be blessed also. And then in addition, the idea that it will actually have an impact on that person's day because I sent that wish of a Boker Tov. Now, obviously it takes some kavana. It can't be just like, good morning, good morning, good morning, have a nice day, have a nice day. Though that's not nothing, but with kavana, it's even more so. So how small of a thing do we need to do? Just a very, very small thing during the month of Elul that we want to focus on. Helene.
To go with what you just said, I've always, I wrote a children's book a long time ago, but one of the things that I keep thinking about is smiling. And if one smiles at someone, the chances are almost nil that someone will not smile back. And when they do smile back, you know they've changed that you have changed their life. You just know it. And the simplicity of a smile, it doesn't take a lot. It just takes a little bit of just remembering to smile at someone. But I think it's a wonderful thing if we all did it. I mean, it's just a wonderful thing.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that. And it's true. So it's interesting when it was very sad when one of the people here was very severe. Actually, it was the son of the man who runs the Jeeping. His name is Eviatar. Thank God he has healed as far as I know. But while he was healing and he was in critical condition, we had a big poster up. I think I did one of my videos of that, and people took on mitzvahs in the merit of a recuperation for him. And some of them were, I'm going to smile at, 5 people today. And it wasn't even like, I'm going to smile at everybody. It was like, I'm having a setting as an intention that I'm going to smile. You can say I smile at someone I don't know, smile at somebody who, whatever it is, these little small moments. Sometimes we think that because the holiday is so big that I have to do something really, really ginormous in order to make it count. And the truth of the matter is that it should be something very small. And when something small happens, it's really like planting a seed. If you want to grow an apple tree, you don't plant an apple tree, you plant an apple seed. And the seed can then grow. So our goal is to plant the seeds, which are tiny, and then those grow and they actually expand. So that's on the idea of something that is small. The comparison is also made to what we are doing during the 40 days that we started Rosh Chodesh Elul, then goes 40 days until the 10th of Tishrei, which is Yom Kippur. It says those 40 days are also considered like a pregnancy. They're considered like the first 40 days of a pregnancy, which in Jewish law is considered a time of fluctuation. Meaning, it says that the sex of the child is not set until after the 40th day, and one can daven for the sex of the child that one wants. Now, we're not going to get into like what that all means, but basically what we want to understand is that you're not allowed to daven for something that is a fait accompli. You cannot daven for something that is already established. So for example, if there's smoke, if you're driving down the street and you see smoke coming from whatever in your neighborhood, you can't daven that it's not your house on fire because it already is or it isn't. You can pray that nobody was hurt. You can pray that the firefighters get there quickly. You can do all sorts of other things, but you can't say, I hope it's not my house because I pray that's not my house. That is not changeable. However, it says during the first 40 days of pregnancy, it's considered up in the air. So what this means is that we ourselves, because Rosh Hashanah is the recreation of humanity, of the year, and of each of us as individuals, even though we're not going to climb back into the womb, that in effect we actually are. So we are back at the embryonic stage of the first 40 days. And so we are in the position of giving thought to who we want to be born as when it comes to Rosh Hashanah. Who do we want to be? So we're starting over. And starting over means like this idea of pregnancy. Now, pregnancy is interesting. For the first 40 days, usually women don't show. You can't really tell somebody is pregnant because it's so small. Powerful, but small. It says the same thing is true with why we want to focus on small actions during these 40 days is because we're talking about a pregnancy. We're talking about something that's starting small that will then be able to blossom and get bigger and turn into something more significant. But nobody would say that a 40-day-old embryo is not significant because it is life and it has all the potential to become a full human being that is sitting here in front of us, since we all started that way. So we are in that stage of creation during the 40 days, starting from Rosh Chodesh Elul until Yom Kippur. So the question is, what do we do with all of that? So before we talk about that, we talk about the idea that one of the aspects of pregnancy is that it is a project that is hidden. Just like a seed that is growing beneath the ground, before it sprouts, all sorts of things are going on underground, but it's basically hidden. It says Rosh Hashanah is called the hidden holiday, which is interesting because you think about it, like, I'm not sure if you went up to somebody and said, what's the hidden holiday? What's a holiday that's hidden in Judaism? I think people will probably say Shavuos because nobody really knows what it is. Or they might say, Tu B'Av because they never heard of it. Or they might say Tu B'Shvat. I know they're gonna pick something that they think is minor, and so that must be hidden. But that's not what we really understand. We understand Rosh Hashanah is called the hidden holiday. How so? When do the other holidays happen? If we look at Sukkot and Pesach, other major holidays, those occur in the middle of the month, right? Those are in the middle of the month, full moon. Even Shavuos, which isn't the full moon, is on the 6th of Sivan. So at least, you see something. But when is Rosh Hashanah? Rosh Hashanah is Rosh Chodesh. It's on the new moon. Which means, how does the moon look? Like basically almost like nothing. So this is a little counterculture. You think if you're celebrating your new year, fireworks, get out the horns, get out the whatever. It's like, okay, then it must be like there's going to be some in the sky big display. Instead of, no, it's actually really, really dark and it's a new moon. And so much so, it says we don't even announce the coming of the month of Tishrei. So while last Shabbos, we announced the coming of Rosh Chodesh Elul, and every single other month we announce the Shabbos before the month starts, we announce the month is coming. But we do not announce the Tishrei is coming. That's kind of different. Now, some people say, well, if you don't know the Tishrei, that Rosh Hashanah is coming, you've like been living in a cave. But, you could say the same thing for Pesach. And Pesach, you even have extra time because the month starts and then Pesach's not until the middle of the month. So you're not going to give me a heads up that Rosh Hashanah is going to be starting just a few days beforehand. Why not? Because it's hidden. So even in Tehillim, in Psalms, it's in Psalm 81, verse 4. Psalm 81, verse 4, it says, Tik'u v'chodesh shofar. So tiku you can recognize as the word tekiah. Tik'u v'chodesh shofar, in the month of the shofar. V'keseh liyom chagenu. On the day when the moon is covered up on our feast day. So the word of keseh is like the word kisui. It's like a kisui rosh, a head covering. It's covered up. That this day is covered up. So why is it covered up? Okay, so we don't announce that the month is going to be happening. It's happening on Rosh Chodesh and we don't even see the moon and it's just like, seems like gone. And in the Rosh Hashanah davening, we don't even mention Rosh Chodesh at all. It's not like part of the davening at all. It's only about Rosh Hashanah. But what is it about Rosh Hashanah then that is hidden? It's because that it has to do with the idea of pregnancy, that something is going to be born then. And when something is born, you don't see it until it actually appears. You can't celebrate it or kind of announce it ahead of time. In fact, it's very interesting. In some of the Jewish communities, people don't really talk about being pregnant. I mean, if you happen to see them, you'll see that they are pregnant, but it's not like in other parts of the community, people say, oh, so-and-so's pregnant, blah, blah, blah. Like they don't talk about it because you don't count your chickens before they hatch. When there's a baby, there's a baby. And if there's not not yet. So my husband, Steve, was learning with a rabbi and for many years in Denver and then by phone after they moved. And after one time when they were learning, he said, well, I have to go now because we're going to the hospital or something like that. My wife is having a baby. And like, I didn't even know she was pregnant. So it was just like, wow. So Rosh Hashanah is like that. I didn't know you were pregnant. So this is a project that is under wraps until it actually happens. And then when it happens, then we say Mazel Tov. But until then, we are in progress. So this idea of hiddenness is pointing us to something in addition. What else about the idea of hiddenness? It says if something is hidden, means you have to look for it. You have to look for it. It's not just right out there. So it means I have to look for Rosh Hashanah. I'm looking for honey. I'm looking for apples. I'm looking for Rosh Hashanah cards. Like, what am I looking for? It's like, I have to look for what I want to be created. I have to put my mind to it. I have to be engaged and involved in actually creating Rosh Hashanah. My Rosh Hashanah, my head, has to be engaged in this process of creating Rosh Hashanah through what it is that I want to create. So now I want to pause to share something with you that I just heard like 15 minutes before we started, just because I was in the kitchen. Yes, the birth happens on Rosh Hashanah exactly. So now you can get into a mixed metaphor with the 40 days. It's not until Yom Kippur. So I can't explain that. We were just going to go with the 40 days and this idea of the pregnancy. The pregnancy is also 40 weeks. So there's the 40 days and then there's 40 weeks. So the whole thing about 40 is about the idea of transformation. So we're talking about a transformative time. So now what I share with you is something I heard from Rabbi Aryeh Niven, and I just clicked on it and listened to it because I thought it was so helpful. Whenever people say, oh, like I'm getting ready for Rosh Hashanah and I really want to like do something and like think about something, I don't know what, and we're like, what am I supposed to think about? Like, what am I supposed to do? He was talking to a group of women. He shared 3 ideas that I thought I would pass on to you because I thought they were really helpful. One is using the metaphor of planting a seed in a field. That before you plant the seed, if you're a farmer, what do they do first? First they plow the dirt. First they turn over the dirt. They don't just stick their fingers in and then just drop a seed in. First they turn over the dirt. So I'm not a farmer, so I'm just going based on what he said. That the reason is that the soil needs to be turned over. It's usually kind of caked and congested, compacted. It needs to be aerated. It needs to be loosened. It needs to be in a condition that will be readily accept the seed that you're trying to put in. Says, what's the comparable for us? He said, by the time we get to the month of Elul, which is the last month of the calendar year, says our heads are compacted. Like our thoughts and our actions and everything we're doing have become so routine and so rote and so whatever it is we're doing, we're like not really thinking. It's like the ground has become compacted. We have to turn it over and freshen it up. So he suggests for this idea to think of it as like I'm plowing the field. Before I can plant a new seed, I need to plow the field. And so he calls that asking the question of why do I? Why do I? And then fill in the blank of all the things that we do in our lives that we take for granted, like, well, this is just what I do. And they can be basic things like, why do I go to this gym? Why do I eat this brand of cereal? Why do I spend time with these people? Why do I daven at this shul? Why do I, talk to this person? It can be all the why do I do this? Why do I think this? But even just the why do I do, it says all the things that are running. It's just, sometimes you get a message on your computer that says, we can save you like all this room for all the files, because what happens in the computer, I'm saying things I don't know, where bits of data gets kind of broken up and it kind of clogs up the system and you lose space. I don't know what that all meant, but they always say, like, we can clean your system for you. It's like part of it's like, do you still need this? You're running these programs. Do you still need these programs? It says we just need to kind of plow the field. And when we plow the field and just answer those questions, and it's not saying that you have to say, oh, well, I'm going to change my coffee and I'm going to change my shul. I'm going to change my hair. I'm going to change my this, that. It doesn't mean that the answer is that it has to be changed. The answer only is the goal is to ask the question so that we know why we're doing what we do and to just check in. It's like, did we still want to continue doing this? So it's called plowing the field. The second question that he said that we should ask ourselves is our satisfaction question. And the satisfaction question is, I would be more satisfied in my life, my job, my marriage, my relationship with my children, my relationship with in my business, my volunteer, my body, my any of the things, if I did such and such. No commitment to do it, just saying I would be more satisfied. Now he said the trick is not to say I would be more satisfied if she or he did such and such. So it can't be that somebody else has to do something in order for me to be more satisfied. One person actually asked the question in the class, and he said, so she said, I'm assuming that that's not what we're supposed to do. Like, I would be more satisfied if he did this. Or even if it was something like, I would be more satisfied with my life if this person was healthy. I would be more satisfied with my life if this person found their beshert. All of these things about other people, I would feel more satisfied. But the answer to that question, or the question to ask, is I would be more satisfied if I could come to terms with the fact that this is the situation for now. I would be more satisfied if I learned how to deal with the challenge that this person presents me, not how we get other people to do things. So it says that we want to have a sense of what would make us feel more satisfied. Because sometimes when we're asking for brachas and we want our life in a good and sweet year, we don't even know what that means because we haven't given it any thought. What does that mean? What would make us feel more satisfied? And that's what we're supposed to focus on. The third, which I thought was really interesting and is good for the people who are creative, especially, he said, instead of calling it a resume, which tells us all the things that we did in the past, he calls it a presume, to pre-tell something. And he said to imagine that you are a year from now and you're writing about what the year was like under your best case scenario. So it's a visualization of the year 5786 was the best year ever. And this is what it looked like. And what would it look like? So what would that year look like? We say we want to have a good year, a good and sweet year. What does that look like? And to look at that description, to take some time, be creative, put it all out there. No dream is too small or too big. To put out there, what does that year look like from your perspective? And then to look at that every Rosh Chodesh for the coming year. And he said, you would be surprised. He's been doing workshops and sessions and learning with people for like 40 years. He said, you'd be surprised at how many things come to be by verbalizing, articulating, because it prepares our minds to look for the opportunities that come our way to help that become a reality. And there is a spiritual and physical alignment process that takes place. So the three things are to do the plowing the field. Why am I doing what I do? What would make me feel more satisfied in different aspects of my life? And if I was looking back a year from now at the year that was really great, what would that great year look like in the most expansive way? Instead of like, well, it was a really good year. It's like, in what way? What happened? What did I do? What did I accomplish? What did I experience? What would that be? And that then when we have that, he said that we have given ourselves a map for the coming year that sets us in a direction that prepares us for the good and sweet year that we'd like to have. But we can't wait to do this on Rosh Hashanah. That's too late, because this is a process. He says, you don't have to do it just one time. Just do it a couple times, whatever you want. Just start out small. Very good question. Is there a relationship between these three steps and the king being in the field now? Yes. Thank you for asking that. I'm going to back it up and take it in a slightly different direction, which is that this period of time of recreation is, think about the obvious physical intimacy in the human level that is required for creation. The creative process is an intimate process. Hashem is our creator and we are the created ones. And we say this in our songs. You are our creator, we are the created ones. You are our, you are the molder, we are your clay. So that all of those things require a close relationship and connection. It says this is the time when the king is in the field, meaning there is an opportunity for intimate connection, and that this process is facilitated. There's a spiritual facilitating. Now, the truth is, you could do this anytime. You could do this, Erev Hanukkah if you wanted, but it's not going to be the same, because there's a spiritual energy that is pulsing through this time that is going to make this process work better, because the renewal is happening. I mean, we say God renews every moment all the time, but this is the renewal of all of creation, a renewal of us as if we were just starting out in our first 40 days of formation. So there is definitely a connection with that closeness and that connection. And the desire that even though the king is in the field, you still have to go and look for him. Your search will be successful, but you still have to go and look. So the same thing is like, people want to have, I should have spiritual whatever should happen, and I should just, I bought my ticket for the service, so then it should just be delivered to me like, with DoorDash or something. It's like, it doesn't work that way. That there is an effort that has to be put into the process, and that effort is called climbing the mountain. So the mountain that we are climbing, that is called to the Temple Mount. We are climbing to the Har Habayit, to the place where the Beit HaMikdash, where the temple stood and will stand, God willing, soon. The Har Habayit. So it says Har is a reference not only to something that is elevated, by definition, a mountain is high, we're going up, but it's related to two other words that we wouldn't necessarily connect. And that is the Hebrew word.
Herayon.
Exactly. Herayon, which means pregnancy. And so Herayon is spelled Hey Resh. Did I freeze?
Yes.
What are you
Yes,
telling me?
we couldn't hear you. We couldn't hear you.
We couldn't hear you at all.
Oh, okay. So that the word Har, which means mountain, is connected to the word Herayon, which means pregnancy. So the first two letters of the word Herayon, which means pregnancy, is Hey Resh, which spells Har. So what is it when we said that we're climbing up we're going to the Har Habayit, the Temple Mount, that we're talking about the idea of pregnancy. And the other word is the word hirhur. Hirhur means thought. Hirhur, the same thing. The first two letters are hey resh of har. So think of it as a shortened way to say, we're going to the mountain. We have a pregnancy, a herayon, and we have thoughts, a thought process that needs to be gone through. Why? It says because God went through a thought process, if we could call it that, before he created the world. So if we're created in the image of God, we also have to go through a thought process. We can't just show up. Got my apples, dip my apples in the honey, make a bracha loud and clear. It's like, that's fine if you're 5, but we're not 5. So we need the idea of thought, hirhur, that har, that mountain, herayon, har, pregnancy, and a har, mountain, har habayit, the place where the Beit HaMikdash stood. The reason we're focused on the Beit HaMikdash, it says that's where, you know, the Dome of the Rock, where that is? Dome of the Rock? You know what that rock is? That rock is called the Even Shtia, which means the foundation stone. That is where all of creation, that's like where heaven and earth connect, and everything came out from there. It's the closest to the spiritual idea of a Big Bang, is it started there. And that Adam, the creation of Adam, says like also came from there. So when we're talking about going back to our source, recreating, renewing creation, renewing ourselves, where do we want to go? We want to go back to the source, which is the Har Habayit, the Beit HaMikdash. So here's a beautiful gematria. The gematria of Beit HaMikdash is the same as Rosh Hashanah. So Beit HaMikdash is 861 and Rosh Hashanah is 861. What Rosh Hashanah is in time, the Beit HaMikdash is in space. So our goal is to get back to that foundation stone, to get back to the place of the Beit HaMikdash, to get back to a real Rosh Hashanah, to get back to a changed new year of our head, to begin a new change. And so we have work to do. We have work to do that is, on one hand, it's profound, but it's not like studying for the SATs or the GREs. It's like asking ourselves simple questions that we actually know the answer to, if we would just give it some thought. Or we could say, I don't know. I need to think about that. Like, I don't know why I do this. But thank you for putting that. You know, when you have somebody that, I don't know, for people who went to college and had roommates or have had spouses, that we all think that we're normal and we do like our regular, we do us. And then when you live with somebody else, you find out like not everybody does things like, why do you do this? It's like, I don't know. That's just like the way I've always done it. It's like, but why? Like, I don't know. Like, maybe there is a better way, you know, maybe there is something else. We just want to break up the clods and get the ground ready to receive something new, because a seed's not going to grow in compacted earth. You can't stick your finger in and put a seed in and just hope it's going to grow. So we want to do the work to prepare ourselves. So is there a special tradition when you live in Israel regarding the kotel during this time period? A lot of people try to go to the kotel during the month of Elul, and there are many who are there every day. Once we get to Slichot, the special prayers, which are the week before Rosh Hashanah, who will go there. The Sephardim start Slichot on Rosh Chodesh Elul, so they were gathered there on Rosh Chodesh Elul, starting the Slichot. So yes, there's a big connection to do that. However, when we celebrate Rosh Hashanah wherever we live, we are entering the Beit HaMikdash. So I'll give you one example of how it's manifested. Many are going to the Har Bayit. That is true. That consult your local Orthodox rabbi about that, because there are some issues about going up to the Har Bayit. However, a lot of people are going now, which I think is good. We know that you've probably heard that in the Beit HaMikdash, when the people came to the Temple Mount, the people were standing totally scrunched together, squished together, and yet they had room for everybody to lie down in full prostration. Now that is a logistical, I don't know, sorry about Slichot. It's a Saturday night is the first Slichot, but I'm not sure the date. Look on your Jewish calendar.
I think it's the 13th of September.
Okay, you'll see look on your calendar. Like that is logistically not possible. You can't say that people who are standing shoulder to shoulder and packed like sardines all have room to go down and prostrate themselves. So it says, how is that possible? It says, because the laws of nature are suspended in the Beit HaMikdash, because it is the place where the nature and above nature touch, that the laws of nature are suspended. So the same thing, that the smoke from the altar went straight up and it never blew around, that there weren't any flies on the meat, that there were like all sorts, this was a funny one. No pregnant woman ever got sick, like morning sickness from smelling the barbecue. Like I remember that I couldn't take the smell of chicken when I was pregnant, just like maybe like gag. Said no pregnant woman ever got sick or miscarried from like smelling the meat. So all the wonders of the world, that was up there among them. So it says that Rosh Hashanah itself is a day that defies nature, because how many days is Rosh Hashanah? Everywhere, not just in Israel.
7.
Rosh Hashanah is 2 days. Rosh Hashanah is 2 days. Now what's interesting is there's a question. For us, it occurs over 2 different days, but it's really called one day. It's really one day. That's why there's a question about whether one should say, like all the other holidays, like the first 2 days of Pesach, your first Seder and your second Seder, you say Shehachianu on both days. On the first 2 days of Sukkot, you say Shehachianu on each day, because there's 2 days. And on Shavuot, outside the land of Israel, there are 2 days, you say Shehachianu on both days. Rosh Hashanah, we don't know if it's not really 2 days. We experience it as 2 days, but it's really one day. So what's the custom that we have on the second day of Rosh Hashanah? We want to do something because we're not 100% sure, and we don't want to make a mistake and say a blessing that's not needed. So what do we do on the second day of Rosh Hashanah so that we can say Shehachianu, but not be calling it really a second day? Is we eat a new fruit. That's why you go to King Soopers or wherever you get your fruit and you ask the grocer, do you have any like some weird name fruit that you haven't had for a month, and ask for it so you can have that, so that you can say Shehachianu on the fruit. Because we don't really think that we should be saying it on the day, because it's really not a new day, because it's really just one day. It's one 48-hour day. Because Rosh Hashanah also suspends nature, which circles us back to the idea of it being hidden. It's a day where we don't really see anything. It's hidden, it's above nature, something very profound is happening. The creation of the world, none of us saw that happen. You notice that humanity was created literally on Rosh Hashanah, which was the 6th day of creation. We didn't see anything else. Everything else was hidden from us. So we're going through a process that's just like that, a hidden process. And we're starting with small seeds and small steps and smiling and saying Boker Tov and walking 4 steps and taking a small step in the direction of something you want to do. So I want to share two personal things that I did a long, long time ago when I had learned about observing the laws of Taharat Mishpacha, of mikveh. And that wasn't something that we were doing at the time. I wanted to take a step in that direction. So I'd been on a retreat with the Jewish Women's Resource Center, our annual retreats that we used to have, which were so wonderful. And there was Mimi Mark was there, and she had given a class about mikveh, and I thought, this is really interesting. The step I took was to write down the phone number in my good old Franklin Covey planner. I just wrote down the phone number for the mikveh. And it was a number of years later that then we started observing that. But I thought, I want to do something that shows that that's what I want to do. And so I wrote down the number. That's a step. And then I'm not sure how many years ago, at some point, I took an envelope and I wrote on the envelope Aliyah. And I put $10 in it and put it in a drawer. Never thinking in a million years that that would ever happen. A little step. Think of what it could be. You want to give tzedakah, go get a roll of pennies from the bank. You want to, smile, go get your teeth whitener. I don't know. Do something that shows like, this is what I want to do. And to express our ratzon of what we want. We are creators like God. We are, when it says in creation, na'aseh Adam, we will make humanity. Christians say the na'aseh, the we is God talking to Jesus. God forbid is not talking, that's not it. When we say na'aseh, it's like that God and we are creating ourselves together in a partnership. And our co-creator, as Cheryl mentioned, is in the field waiting for us to come and say, I want to create myself anew. And here's what I'm prepared to do. This is how I'm working on it. So it's a significant process. It has profound possible ramifications, but it doesn't need to be heavy. In fact, some of it should be kind of funny and light, especially on the plowing the field of why do I do this? Why do I do this? And you may want to do that with a friend if that seems helpful, but just then write it down, especially your présumé, what it's going to look like when you look back on the year that's coming, of how that's going to look, of what your great year looks like. So God willing, we will all have all of our visions. We'll plow the earth, plant the seeds, tiny, tiny seeds. They'll grow and blossom, hidden, but then revealed. And then our life will, God willing, unfold. And we will be able to see many of the things and ideas and dreams that we have be able to become a reality. I will not be able to teach next week. Steve and I are going on a cruise, which we've never been on. We're going to the Greek islands of Rhodes and Crete just for a few days, but it's on a Wednesday. But I'll be back for the following. I will not be able to send out an email reminder because I'm not taking my laptop with me. And so I won't be able to send out an email. So make a note that we will resume the week after that. Yes, Rhoda.
I've been in Jerusalem for Elul, and you feel it's in the air. You just feel there's something different. You just feel the spirituality, whether you go to the Kotel or not, you feel it there.
It's true. It is true. Just being here is amazing.
Great.
It's amazing. All right,
We're
ladies,
so happy you're going to
pleasure.
Crete. Take
Enjoy.
pictures in Crete, because I don't know what is in Hebrew Crete? Not Kafrisin, that's Cyprus. Crete, I forget. I don't know. But how many hours trip is it? Like half an hour? You don't know?
No,
I have no idea. I'm just getting on
The
the boat.
cruise,
We're
she'll be
so
gone.
happy. Please take pictures to share, please. And have a
All
great
right,
time.
ladies, have a wonderful week and wonderful Shabbos, and I'll see you in
Nesia
2 weeks.
tova. Nesia
Toda rabba.
tova. So happy for you. And toda rabba for your inspiration.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Ellen.
Thank
Toda
you.
rabba,
Pleasure.
rabba, rabba.
Thank
you.
you.
The best.
And
You're
have a
amazing.
wonderful
תודה רבה.
cruise.
Bye, everyone. Shana tova ומתוקה. But we'll see you before.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Bye,
Have a great
Rumi.